A muscular woman walks into frame, and before she says a word, the room has already made a decision about her. Some people admire her, some stare too long, some laugh nervously. Some call her inspiring, but only if her strength remains elegant, small, marketable, and safely feminine. But when the shoulders widen, when the back becomes architecture, when the arms stop asking permission and start looking like forged iron, something in the culture begins to tighten. Why does this body disturb people? Not because it is unhealthy by default, not because it is ugly by nature, not because strength suddenly becomes strange when a woman carries it. The discomfort begins somewhere deeper. It begins when a female body refuses to perform weakness. For generations, the accepted image of feminine beauty was built around softness, smallness, lightness, and containment. A woman could be fit but not too powerful, athletic but not too imposing, toned but not too muscular, strong but preferably in a way that still made her look harmless. The moment muscle becomes undeniable, the body stops being decoration and becomes evidence. Evidence of discipline, evidence of appetite, evidence of aggression, evidence of a private will that cannot be easily managed by the gaze of others. And that is where the unease begins. Because the muscular woman is not simply a woman with muscle. She is a contradiction walking through a world that still wants femininity to be readable at first glance. She forces the question nobody wants to ask out loud. Do we admire strength in women only when it stays visually obedient? The discomfort around muscular women did not appear from nowhere. It was built slowly through advertising, sports coverage, cinema, fashion, and the invisible classroom of everyday comments. Little girls were praised for being pretty before they were praised for being powerful. Women's fitness magazines sold thinness under the language of health. Even when strength became fashionable, it often arrived with strict borders. Abs, yes. Massive traps, maybe not. A flat stomach, yes. A body that looks capable of moving another human being, suddenly complicated. This is the strange bargain offered to women in modern fitness culture. Become strong, but do not become unreadable. A man with huge arms is usually placed inside a familiar myth. Warrior, protector, champion, alpha. His muscle may be mocked, but it is still culturally legible. It belongs to a long masculine lineage of armor, labor, violence, sport, empire, and heroism. But a woman with the same visual language enters forbidden territory. Her muscle does not merely add to her femininity in the eyes of many people. It interrupts the script. That interruption is why the comments often arrive disguised as concern. Is that too much? Is that natural? Does she still look feminine? Why would a woman want to look like that? Notice the question is rarely just about sport. It is about permission. The muscular woman is asked to justify not only what she can do, but why she dared to want the body that doing it created. And the media learned to manage that tension. When female athletes are covered, the camera often tries to soften the threat. It asks about beauty, romance, motherhood, outfits, smiles, marketability. It translates performance back into acceptability. The champion must become relatable. The fighter must become charming. The lifter must become inspirational, but not intimidating. And if her body crosses the invisible line, the coverage changes tone. Suddenly, the conversation is no longer about the work. It becomes about whether the body has gone too far. But too far for whom? At Muscle Maiden, our position is simple. A trained female body should not need to apologize for showing the consequences of training. Muscle is not a betrayal of womanhood. It is one possible expression of it. Not the only one, not a moral superior one, but a real one. A sacred anatomy of effort. And yet, this is precisely why it remains controversial. Because a muscular woman exposes how narrow the pedestal has always been. The pedestal can celebrate beauty, but only if beauty remains passive. It can celebrate strength, but only if strength still flatters the viewer. It can celebrate discipline, but only if the discipline does not produce a body that challenges the old hierarchy. The muscular woman breaks the frame. She does not stand there as fantasy. She stands there as proof. Proof that the body can be built deliberately. Proof that femininity is not fragile by law. Proof that the iron does not care about the gender of the hands that lift it. The real story is not a competition stage, a gold medal, or a single record under bright lights. It is the moment a woman's muscle stops being interpreted as a flaw and starts being seen as authorship. Imagine the body as a document. Every shoulder line, every callus, every dense piece of quadriceps, every carved section of back is a sentence written in repetition. The gym becomes the forge. The barbell becomes the pen. The body becomes the archive. This is what makes muscular women so visually powerful. They are difficult to lie about. You cannot fake years under iron. You cannot edit discipline into a back that never trained. You cannot manufacture that kind of density from a slogan. The muscular female body is not an opinion. It is accumulated time, and that is why it threatens a culture built on effortless beauty. And once you see that, the old question begins to collapse. The question is not, can she still be feminine? The better question is, why was femininity ever made so small that strength looked like exile? But reverence must not become blindness. Muscle has a price. The iron gives, but it also collects. For some women, the price is social. They become strangers in ordinary rooms. Clothes stop fitting. Strangers feel entitled to comment. Men admire them in secret and insult them in public. Other women may praise them, fear becoming them, or use them as a warning about going too far. For others, the price is psychological. When the body becomes a project, the mirror can become a courtroom. The same discipline that builds confidence can also become captivity when every meal, every measurement, every photo, every off-season pound becomes evidence in a trial that never ends. And in competitive bodybuilding especially, there is another layer, judging. The athlete is asked to become extreme enough to win, but not so extreme that the judges, sponsors, or audience withdraw approval. Build muscle, but preserve femininity. Become exceptional, but remain acceptable. Step onto the throne, but do not make the throne uncomfortable. This is the hidden cruelty of the muscular woman's position. She is often punished not for failing, but for succeeding too visibly. So the issue is not that every muscular body is automatically liberated. It is not. A body can be powerful and still trapped by comparison, industry pressure, enhancement culture, injury, or public scrutiny. Muscle is not magic. The forge can make armor, but armor can become heavy. Still, none of that justifies contempt. If anything, it demands a more serious gaze. A gaze mature enough to see both the magnificence and the cost. The glory and the wound, the reign and the sacrifice. The reason this conversation matters now is that the muscular woman is no longer hidden at the edge of culture. She is in CrossFit boxes, Olympic platforms, powerlifting meets, bodybuilding stages, wrestling rings, strongwoman arenas, and Instagram feeds. She is a mother deadlifting twice her body weight. A teenager choosing the squat rack over shrinking herself. A champion whose back looks like a carved map of years. A retired athlete whose body still carries the memory of the throne. And every one of them expands the visual vocabulary of womanhood. Not every woman needs to be muscular. That was never the point. The point is that no woman should be treated as less feminine because she became strong in a way the culture did not pre-approve. The lineage of female strength is not asking permission anymore. It is building its own museum. Its own myths, its own sacred anatomy. The future of women's strength will not be won only by bigger records. It will be won by a deeper imagination. Can we look at a muscular woman and see more than threat? More than spectacle? More than a body that needs explaining? Can we see craft? Can we see history? Can we see a human being who entered the forge and came out carrying visible evidence of her own will? Maybe muscular women still make people uncomfortable because they reveal something uncomfortable about the viewer. They reveal how often admiration comes with conditions, how often beauty is confused with obedience, how often strength is praised in theory then rejected when it becomes flesh. The muscular woman does not destroy femininity. She expands the room where femininity is allowed to stand. And if that still makes people uncomfortable, perhaps the problem was never her body. Perhaps the problem was the room.